Okay, let me just begin answering your question first. When we talk about Buddhism, if you look at the background in the first lesson, we're talking about there are already some kind of established religions or religions in India, and they all believe in some kind of gods. They believe there's a greater God, there are all kinds of gods. The Buddha mentioned all these gods, but we are never instructed to worship them. That's number one. In fact, even the Buddha, we don't really worship the Buddha. He's an instructor, he's a teacher. But then again, God believers sometimes misunderstand when we say Buddha is a teacher. When they hear the word Buddha as a teacher, they think, oh, he's just a normal human being. He's not a normal human being. He's, in terms of words, we would say he's a supra-normal human being. In other words, he has overcome whatever limits a human being, to put it very simply. On the other hand, the Buddha talks about the gods because the people believe in what is gods and so on. And then the Buddha would tell, for example, how these gods became gods through the three trainings, by being good, by being morally virtuous, and so on. So in a sense, the Buddha used those ideas in a good sense. But there were bad gods also. But here the Buddha is talking about, let's look at the good gods, okay? But even then, here and there you see the Buddha is saying there's something called skillful means. In other words, you've got to understand the bigger picture. For example, like now here we're sitting, studying all kinds of Buddhism, or Buddhist teachings, But once you meditate, you've got to let go of all those teachings. You can't be thinking about them. When you think about them, you can't meditate, right? So in other words, even the deepest teachings we learn, they are like tools. They're like a ladder. After you climb, you reach the top, you don't need a ladder anymore. Okay? So all the teachings are like that. So this idea is very important to understand. All those doctrines and so on, including God ideas, are skillful means. Of course, it doesn't mean that they're not important. They are important when we are not awakened yet. For example, 5 precepts, Four Noble Truths, right? However, where God ideas are concerned, in Buddhism, we say it doesn't really matter whether you believe in them or not. Because most of these people who believe in God already believed in it before they came to Buddhism. So Buddha said, no problem. You want to believe in those things? Fine. But make sure they do not hinder your progress. That's the main thing. So if you think of the gods in terms of high qualities like loving kindness, compassion, if you don't believe in God, fine, no problem also. Right? So you got those who don't believe in God, you call atheists. Who specifically say they don't believe in God at all. Atheists. A means no, T means God. Believe in God. On the other hand, because Buddha talked about gods, and there are some Buddhists who do believe in some of these gods, at least in story form, and yet we do not place importance in the gods. We do not say the gods has any important role in our awakening at all. In fact, where awakening is concerned, we are in charge. So because of that, there is a God idea by no importance placed in the God idea. Buddhism is more correctly described as non-theistic. That's the third idea. The non-theistic. That means it is not based on the God idea. But Buddhism is open. Whatever idea you have, you start from there. Now the word agnostic. See, Gnostic means to know something, knowledge. In fact, Gnostic and Jnana are very close together. This word Gnostic comes from Gnosis. Gnosis means knowledge. Not just any knowledge, but it's like mystical knowledge. In fact, in the early Christian church, there was all kinds of belief about Christ, not what you see today. So some of them believe, for example, that Christ is not a human being, it's not a God. So this group are called the Gnostic Christians. Gnostic. G-N-O-S-T-I-C. In other words, it's almost like Buddhist, the way some of this Mahayana approach the Buddha. And sometimes they talk in riddles. Some of the like meditation teachers. So anyway, they were killed. They were destroyed by the main judge because of the Pope or something like that. Then, so gnosis means knowledge, and this is Greek. This is Sanskrit. You see the J and the J and G are very close sounds. For example, we say what? G giant, right? Giant, J is sound. So the J and the G, they sound very similar. But what's interesting here is notice, gnosis. When I was a kid, I was just curious, how come the G is silent? Many Greek words, there's a word character in front which is silent, like P, pneumatic, pneumatic tires. You know why they're silent? Because they came from the same language as Sanskrit. Originally, they were pronounced. For example, here, jnana, which means the same thing, knowledge. Here it is pronounced. Here it is silent. That's why the G is there but not pronounced. Originally it was pronounced, but somehow when they went into Europe to Greece, they just slowly became quiet. I think there was a time to pronounce it, but it's a bit difficult to pronounce. Gnosis. Alright, so gnosis is mystical knowledge. It's the kind of knowledge not found in books. That's why the early church didn't like the Gnostics. Because if you don't have a book, you cannot control the crowd. Because the Gnostics say, if you understand by yourself, you are liberated, you are free. They're talking like Mahayana Buddhists, And the church didn't like that because they couldn't control the crowd. But this is liberating knowledge, we call it liberation. Okay? So that is one meaning. Then there are people, intelligent people, scholars especially, they say, what do we know about God? What does people talk about God? They've never met God, and they just talk about it. And I also don't know God exists or not. So why bother? So let us not talk about something we don't know. So they are I don't knowist, if you like. And they feel it's not important anyway. So the big word for them are agnostics. Agnostic means I don't know whether God exists or not. Here again, it's a personal preference. If you, you can be a Buddhist, but you tell yourself, I really don't know if this God exists. So in that aspect, you are an agnostic. If you ask me, for example, I can tell you that I really don't know whether rebirth and karma really work the way the sutta says, because I can't prove it to you. So in that sense, I would say I'm an agnostic. But it doesn't mean, it's not that I don't believe in this thing, it's just I do not have the proof for this. I'm only taking it on faith, depending on what the scripture says. So that's agnostic. So in a sense, it's not too bad to call yourself agnostic. It simply means I don't know ist. I'm not Buddhist, but I don't know ist. That means I don't want to quarrel people. But I wouldn't say Buddhism is agnostic. I wouldn't say the Buddha is agnostic. Why? Because the Buddha has a three knowledges. He knows all these things. He has experience for himself. So in that sense, Buddha is not agnostic. I wouldn't call Buddha a Gnostic either, because Gnostic, they believe in mystical knowledge. Whereas these are not exactly mystical knowledge, a very clear, direct understanding of things. Okay? So, anyway, we're just starting our answering a question just now. So in the first lesson, I talked about roughly why Buddhism arose in India, the background, and so on. Second lesson, we went a bit deeper into what's called the true trainings. Right? So in fact, in this lesson, we'll be focusing in all these three lessons on our main model, if you like, the true trainings. We have finished the first one more or less, and I'll talk a bit about concentration. Today I'm talking about concentration in terms of meditation. At the same time, I also include wisdom. Now these 3 trainings summarizes the whole of Buddhist practice. Whenever you look at Buddhism, the more I study Buddhism all these years, you find, I'm talking about early Buddhism, not the later forms. The later forms are very philosophical. The models are always very simple, and very logical, and once you understand the big picture, you know why it is set up like this. For example, Sila, Samadhi, Panya in Pali. Sila is moral virtue, Samadhi is mental concentration, and this one is insight wisdom. Right? These are 3 aspects of Buddhist training. We can call them 3 stages also, but we must remember them as aspects. Because although they are stages, they are not discrete stages. They are not separate stages, like you attain one, you throw away the bottom one, it's not like that. They overlap. For example, moral virtue, once you attain it, it pervades all the rest. Even the Buddha, totally awakened, is perfect in his moral virtue. That means there is no such thing as somebody telling you, oh, you know, my guru is perfect, he's enlightened, he can do anything he wants, you know. He can have sex and no problem with that. Wow, there's something wrong with the kind of we are talking. I have strange people, students asking me, so you know, these arahats, they can have sex, right? Because they're already awakened. I said, if they're already awakened, they would enjoy it because they already attained such a high level of joy. They don't enjoy physical pleasure anymore. It's just like we were kids, we play with mud, we play with all those tiny little toys, fluffy toys. But now we have computers, we are adults, we don't feel attracted to those things anymore. Too simplistic. So. Same thing with arahats. Because to them, sexuality is a very physical thing, whereas meditation is a mental thing. So they have this mental joy. So they don't need physical joy. So to talk like that means we totally don't understand what Buddhism is talking about, and we don't understand the nature of the mind. Okay? So here we'll talk about body and mind. So in other words, in Buddhist training, if you are asked what should I train myself first, you have to discipline your body and speech. Right? So this is what moral virtue is about. The idea of disciplining body and speech is to deal with the most dynamic aspect of our being, if you like. The aspect of our being which connects us to the outside world. The mind, our inside world, so to speak. This one, outside world. Why? You look at the 5 precepts. The 5 precepts give a very clear picture, right? Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. This is always done to someone else. So if these 3 things happen regularly, you cannot have proper society. Anyone can kill, anyone they like. Anyone can steal, take away anything they like. Anyone can just rape and kill. Wow, that's terrible. You won't feel safe in the street. You'll never be civilized. You'll never be prosperous. So it's not just religion. The first 3 precepts, we're talking about a safe society. So we need the kind of basic rules. So this disciplines the body and speech of a person. Speech is communication. So that society is possible. For example, we are sitting here. Peacefully, this is society. This is an aspect of society. If there is no peace now, we can't be sitting here talking about Buddhism. Don't talk about meditation. You know, you can't be meditating with bombs are dropping. So we need a certain peace. That's why we've got to start working with society. So Buddhism is not antisocial. Buddhism needs that society. Buddhism contributes to that social well-being, but for a purpose. The purpose is for mental development. Okay, so this is the one, mind, concentration. Right? And this is best done through meditation. I say best done because there are other methods. Some people who have no time or no inclination to meditate, you can practice simple things like observing impermanence, perception of impermanence, which also can be done. It's called mindfulness practice. That means wherever you are, just reflect, everything around is impermanent. You do your work, you reflect on the impermanence. You look at the computer screen, you see the pixels, you know they're all impermanent. So you remind yourself constantly of the impermanence of reality. The opposite of that is to keep cursing ourselves. I hate my boss, I hate this, I hate that. Now, if you know, polluting our minds that way, we're going to explode one day. We're going to act out what we tell ourselves. So we've got to be careful what we tell ourselves. In fact, there's so many the computer has got so many documentaries on the mind. The more I watch them, the more I see they're talking about Buddhism. And nowadays they're saying, for example, simple thing like, how to keep your mind healthy. Just sit quietly, visualize a beautiful place you've been to, and that is going to heal you. I said, that's how we teach in loving kindness meditation. Another one says, whatever you say to yourself, you're going to actualize that. That's what we do in breath meditation. So what the Buddha has been teaching this 2,500 years ago. So these are basic principles of how we train our mind, nothing magical. People like magical things, they like someone doing it for them and say, oh, this great guru did it for me. But here we're telling them, you do it yourself. You know what's going on when you do it yourself, and that's the safest thing you can do. Right? So that's second level of training. But then you find that sometimes when you meditate, you can't focus. Because if you just straight away meditate without any grounding, this is the grounding, your mind starts shooting in 1,000 directions at the same time. So you've got to examine how's my daily life. Right? You've got to start by ordering your daily life, so to speak. They help each other, by the way. You begin by, the moment you come here, we try to keep this place nice and peaceful. I wish we had a kind of bungalow with beautiful trees around, very peaceful, no sound of any machine out there. That would be excellent. In Singapore, we'll have to find a golf place. But at least we find that here is peaceful enough. So the moment you come here, you can feel, wow, this is peaceful compared to many other places. And then slowly you start watching the mind. So you got the external peace first, in other words. External. You let go of externality first. What is externality here? What is the external world? They are your eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body, the 5 physical senses. What you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you feel. We calm those things down. That's what we do in breath meditation. In meditation in general. We don't talk because when we meditate, so that's the beginning. So once the body is settled, then we deal with the mind. Okay, so logical. And then after that, body and mind are at peace, your mind is clearer, you begin to see yourself in better perspective. Meaning of life. What am I doing? I have enough money, but I'm not happy. Something wrong with my work, or maybe something wrong with the way I think. Okay, so that's the meaning. Okay, next is purpose. So what should I do? What do I want in life? Okay? And so your mind is so clear, you can decide for yourself. And you are the best counselor to yourself, you are the best advisor to yourself. So here in meditation, where we are creating that facility, that ability to judge things for ourselves and decide things for ourselves. Even on a worldly level. Okay? But more than that, this wisdom gives us such a clear vision of life that even if whatever the worst things happen to us, but our minds are never destroyed. We can somehow survive the worst kind of crisis. Because if the mind is destroyed, everything is destroyed. Even if your wealth is destroyed, if your mind is strong, you can always be resilient, get up, start over again. And many of the great names in history, all those people who contributed to civilization, we find their lives have always been at some point difficult. It is suffering that teaches us. In a sense, you might say suffering is the best teacher, because through suffering, we discover our lack, our needs, and then we build up from that. Or another way of putting it is, when there is suffering, there is a necessity, something is missing. And you start examining things and you know what you need. So this is, your mind is clear, you are able to define the problem well. When you are able to define the problem well, then the next thing is you know what caused the problem. And when you know what caused the problem, you know how to end it. And the Four Noble Truths is you make the effort. So it's also logical and simple. The Four Noble Truths model. Okay? So in a sense, wisdom, here you can put in the Four Noble Truths model if you like. The Four Noble Truths model is a problem-solving model. Okay? Define the problem, identify the conditions or causes, the 3 solutions, alternatives, and the 4 application, methodology. Okay, so all the Four Noble Truths. So this is, you are liberated if you apply that. Right? So this is called insight. That means you see into things, not just on surfaces. Okay? So this is a kind of overview of the Buddhist training. Any question on the Buddhist training? Fair enough, huh? Now, I'm going to go into the second level of meditation. We often see the Buddha sitting in meditation under the Bodhi tree. There's so much to talk about trees also, but I don't think it's time to get into that. The tree represents ecology, okay? And the Buddha is in the open nature. So here, the meaning is that occasionally, if you really want to discover yourself, you got to go out there in the open, just be by yourself, enjoy the peace. And then things become clearer in your mind. You just got to get out of the so-called professional environment. Even myself, occasionally go quietly somewhere, just enjoy nature, and I come back with some more beautiful ideas. So this is where we don't just work, but we enjoy our work. We see beauty in our work. Okay? So the Bodhi tree represents that. You see a lone tree, beautiful tree of knowledge. The Buddha sits peacefully under the tree. Nothing can touch it. No evil can touch it, but it's deep meditation. Now the question is, what did he discover in his meditation? So in simple terms, you can say they are called the three knowledges. So these are the three knowledges. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Of these three knowledges, number 3 is the most important. This is what made the Buddha Buddha. Okay? The destruction of defilements. And there's all those things that cause him to be reborn again and again. For example, wrong views, desire for existence, sensual desire, things like that. Okay? Now, I won't talk about this, it's a bit very deep and philosophical. Let's just say this is Buddha. Okay? But these two are interesting. Rebirth, karma. But these are another two very important teachings referred here, defining Buddhism. Okay? And this is also two very difficult points of Buddhism, because although many Buddhist teachers will boast to you and say, oh, you know, in Buddhism we don't have dogmas, you know, everything is clear, even scientific. I never like to use the scientific that Buddhism is concerned, because they are totally two different fields. And even the scientists who are Buddhists will tell you they don't have to compare Buddhism with science, because they are quite different ways of looking at things. It's not that one is better than the other. They are different tools with different purposes. The purpose of Buddhism, as a religion, if you like, is to train our minds to free ourselves from suffering. Science wants to discover various things, depending on the scientists. So, karma and rebirth, or rebirth and karma, we can't prove these things. I can't prove to you right now. Because how do I prove rebirth to you? How do I prove karma to you? You might come up and say, oh, I look around the world, I see bad people prospering and good people suffering. That's more likely the case, right? But of course, if you look more closely, you do see there is justice going on. Okay? But the point is, these are very difficult things to talk about. Very controversial. And yet, you can have feeling there's something right there. So my approach is this. I'm not here, if you tell me you don't agree, I say fine. So I have no problem with that. Because these are things which we cannot prove. And in Buddhism, we accept that. There are Buddhists I know, big names, you know, they publish books in the West. You know? People like Stephen Batchelor and the wife Martin Batchelor, husband and wife team, like two of us. And they have a beautiful country house in England, in Devon, I think. And they run courses, you know. So, and they're very honest. Especially Stephen Batchelor, he says, I don't think I can believe in karma and rebirth because I can't prove them. That's a big statement, of course. Nobody often says that. Because the definition of right view in Buddhism, actually, you need to believe in karma and rebirth. Then it's dogma. It's dogma. If you say you must believe, otherwise you're not Buddhist. Of course, we can say, one way out is this. I can say, the sutta says so. It's found in the suttas. The Buddha keeps saying these things again and again. Obviously, there is a point that's one. Okay? And we have the right to say that. Number two, we also have the right not to believe in it. There's no problem with that. This is unlike God religion. God religion, once it's in the holy book, you got to believe. But in Buddhism, although it's in the holy book, you still can think about it. There's no problem. Okay? So that's the second part. The third thing is the most interesting, which I will talk about today. We can look at these two issues using the as-if argument. This is what one of the philosophers, or one of the modern teachers came up and says, we can discuss it from an as-if point of view. Now, before we go into this point, let me just go into a quick dhamma and rebirth. Okay, now, these two knowledge, they're called knowledge of the rebirth. Well, this is the Buddha's own past lives. He went to deep meditation, which I'll talk about in a moment. He went to the meditation so deep, he could recall clearly what he did a while ago, yesterday, last week, last month, many years ago. And he went back with a concentrated mind. Okay? And finally, last life. And his meditation so deep, you can go back many lives, as many lives as he's able to. This is called past life call. So in doing so, he realized, wow, this is what I was in the past, this is what I did, and this is when I made a vow to become Buddha, and so on. So he had a good idea of his own personality, so to speak. So he's speaking for himself, I think. And so that, therefore he declares there is such a thing as rebirth, because he has experienced it himself. Okay? So this is his own personal past lives. Here, the knowledge, if you write this in full, his knowledge is called the knowledge of the arising and passing away of beings faring according to their karma. It's called the yeah. So in other words, also about rebirth. Now he meditates, he says, okay, let me look at other people's lives. So he sees a similar pattern. Other people, in this life, in one life they did something bad and then they are reborn, suffering state. They did good and then next life they were reborn well. Sometimes a mixed karma. So you have good, someone doing all good, someone doing good and bad, and then the result also similar. So you notice all these things. Why some are born rich, born poor, born good looking, bad looking, born good, born evil, and so on. So he calls this karma. He says these are people doing according to their action. For Buddhists, we say, for me anyway, my understanding of karma means action rooted in motivation, or motivated action. There are 6 kinds of motivational roots, 2 sets of 3. Remember, we did the first time, the first unwholesome roots, greed, hate, delusion. Any action we do that is motivated by greed, hate, or delusion is called karma. Now what's interesting is this karma can be conscious or unconscious. In fact, most of the time our karma is unconscious. We have unconscious habits, we have unconscious tendencies. It is karma. We cannot say just because we're not conscious of it, it's not karma. It is still karma. Only when there's no intention. In other words, we do not have greed, hatred, delusion, it is not karma. But if you're not awakened, somehow our actions always have one of the 3 roots. Definitely the last one. So the point now is how to clear our mind so that we are more aware of our actions. That's the Buddhist thing. So karma means we are telling ourselves we've got to clear our mind so that we watch the pattern in our life. Why? First basic question, why am I not happy? I mean, you can ask any question. Let's just start with this question. Why am I not happy? And you examine it and so on. Or maybe you can go a little bit more specific. What am I not happy about? And then you reflect, so, okay, I'm happy about my job, about my family, or about my work, or something, you know, or politics, or the country, whatever. I could be 1,000 things. And then you go further, you say, what are the things I don't like? And you list them. And then after that, you ask yourself, what can I do about this? Or why do I feel like this? And then you discover some very interesting things about yourself. Why you get upset about something. Well, different people get upset by different things. Why is it that he's not happy with the politics, B is very happy with the politics, A is happy with the family, B is not happy with the family, A is happy with the job, B is not happy with the job. So we all react differently to different situations. In other words, we all have our reasons. Our reasons, it means causes and conditions for reacting this way. So we got to reflect. Only we can reflect. Only we are the ones who can look inside and examine, this is how I think, this is how I feel, that's why I don't like this. And then you adjust, you tweak those things. Right? So this is where it's not just a matter of we are fated, this is not fate, you can change karma. And rebirth is, if you allow this karma to go on working, it's going to take over, repeating itself. Rebirth is the stage, if you like. It goes on happening. Karma is the action. Right? So karma doesn't stop. It's not, it continues. So what about the as if argument? Alright, if you look at the world religions, you have two big methods. Right? One is the God idea. Everything blame God. Huh? Okay, so God made me do this, God made me do that. One woman had a lot of babies, I think it was a Philippines or somewhere. Then she has so much problem for kind of support the kids. The doctor said, you got to stop producing babies. And then the woman said, I can't, you know, God gave. Doctor said, not God, my dear woman, it's your husband. You tell him to stop. You know, so this is where we like to blame God when we are the ones at fault. So Buddhists, we don't hate God. We're just saying, why do you blame someone who has nothing to do with your actions? You take charge of your action. This is what the Buddhists are trying to say. So, this as if argument is this. Okay, assuming God is real, God is real, and you believe that whatever is Dio volente, in other words, God wills, then you don't have to do anything. Everything God will do for you. Then why do we worry? You don't have to worry anything, right? So you have a problem there. You know, if you say God wills everything, like there was this preacher who came to me once in Malacca when I was a monk, he came to me to convert me. He'd been coming again and again, I always have answered him, and he got so lost, he had a loss how to convert me. So finally he came with this last ditch argument. He says, okay, you know, I think I have the final answer. I said, what is it? He said, everything is, do you think everything is God's will? You know everything is God's will. I said, oh no, here he goes again. So I said, okay, for once I agree with you. Everything is God's will. For a while, his eyes took down, he thought I started believing him. I said, that's just for the sake of argument. Accept the fact everything is God's will. Because he's quote beautiful Bible quotation. You know? Even if a bird falls, God knows. I said, oh, nice, very beautiful. I said, then you should stop coming to disturb me already. Because God wills that I'm a monk. You better live. Suddenly you don't know what to say. It doesn't work, you see, this kind of argument. You can say anything you want. You know? The point is, if you use the God idea, there are lots of philosophical problems, arguments. And whoever defines God is the one in charge. This is a power mode. Whoever defines God has the power, and he's going to tell you what to do. That's why there's thousands of churches. Christians, Wikipedia says every year 6,000 Christian groups come out. And each of them are a small church. Some of the churches in Singapore, you've got 30, 40 people, it's one church. So, it's just the God idea. On the other hand, if you talk about karma, you are responsible for your own actions. We call it accountability. So in other words, I am responsible for my action. But if I'm not responsible for my action, who is? There is a beautiful saying in the Dhammapada. The self is the master of the self, or the self is its own master. If you train yourself well, here self means the mind, if you train yourself well, then you gain a master which is supreme. There is no other master you can find. You have to be your own master. That alone is a beautiful saying, telling you to take charge of your life. Right? So, if you believe in karma, then you don't blame people. You don't blame anybody. You say, okay, what can I do about it? So it's very proactive. What can I do about it? So the Buddha is saying you can do it because problems start in the mind. So we come back to this. Right? So to me, this explanation is useful because even though we do not really know the details of karma, we can prove it, but it's a working idea. It's a working theory rather than a God idea. Okay? So because it tells us we are accountable for our actions, it tells us that we can change ourselves. It doesn't tell us we are evil. Maybe you might say we're a little stupid sometimes, but it's okay. If you're stupid, you can learn. But if you're evil, it might be a bit difficult to change. But even the word evil, scholars think that the word evil doesn't exist in Buddhism because evil is defined by different religions. Sin, for example. Sin is a Christian specific word. You don't believe in God, you deny God, glory to God because He is deserving of the glory. That is a sin. That's not applied to Buddhists. We don't have a God idea. So these are problems created by religion. You know, there is this great writer in the U.S., woman writer, because her name is in one of my reflections. She wrote a very nice poem. I don't remember the exact words, but something like this. This Eskimo was talking to the preacher. He says, preacher, if I do not know about God, would I go to hell? And the preacher said, no, you won't. Then why do you go around preaching about God? He says, so you don't talk about God, better still, then we don't have to sin. So this is very true because these preachers create this idea of sin. Even now, they have a big problem, scratching their head, this inland nation in China. They are writing all these papers in their Trinity College, what do you call it, theological colleges and so on. They say this is a problem trying to convert the Chinese. They do not have a word for sin. So how do you tell the Chinese they are sinners? I was joking, I said this preacher is trying to make the Chinese sin. How do you know the Chinese sin? Because the Chinese don't know sin and they're very happy with that. So why you want to make them feel unhappy, you know what I mean? So these are ideas we don't need. You can already see so much psychological problems are being created with this kind of idea. They're not good. So we've got to be very careful what we put into our heads. So in Buddhism, another way of looking at things is, here, we learn something, some skills to restrain our body and speech. But in meditation, we empty our minds, we try to clear our minds of thoughts. So this is quite the opposite of religions. We don't want to think too much, we just want to clear our minds. Because our mind, in a sense, is a way of looking at the world. So what other people are telling us, this is the way you should see it, that's the way you should see it. It's really confusing to many people tell us. So meditation says, stop. This is stop. This is realize. Okay? So there are two aspects of meditation. Stop aspect, realize aspect. Stop means we don't want our minds polluted with all these outside things. We want to clear the lens of our mind. So when you meditate, you are clearing the lens of the mind. So when you look through it, you say, wow, this is really clear, I can see better. That's the idea. That's, in a sense, Buddhism has nothing to teach. Because what's to be taught is already out there, you can see for yourself. The problem is your vision is blurred. This is where sometimes people have problems and say, if it is Buddhism religion, then what does it matter? Call it what you like. If you can see clearly, see well, it's great. So this is what you see inside. So that's a bit of summary first. Any questions?
What about the term reincarnation?
Okay. Rebirth so far is the best term that most scholars would accept because it's kind of neutral. Now, if you look at reincarnation, it's one of those Latin words. Karna. For example, carnal pleasure. Karna means body. It's got to do with the body. In here means to become again. Incarnate. There's also the word corporation. Corporation means company, right? Today we say it's company. Actually, corporation, corpora means body. It's a body. The company is a body. Legal body. to form a company, we say we incorporate the company. So to be reborn, incarnate, that means into a body. So this only, the re means again. Reincarnation only applies if the person is reborn in a physical body, like human being, animals. But then there are other forms which are formless. Then reincarnation won't apply. So reincarnation in other is a restricted term, so we have to be careful how to use it. We can say reincarnate into a human being, reincarnate into a cat, reincarnate into a dog, yeah, that's fine. But we cannot say reincarnate into a higher one of those formless gods, because they have no form. So it is oxymoron, they contradict each other. So rebirth is the neutral term.